Chapter 1 of When William Came by Saki. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please go to LibriVox.org. Reading by Andy Minter. When William Came by Saki. Chapter 1. The Singing Bird and the Barometer. Cicely Yeovil sat in a low swing chair, alternately looking at herself in a mirror and at the other occupant of the room in the flesh. Both prospects gave her undisguised satisfaction. Without being vain, she was duly appreciative of good looks, whether in herself or in another, and the reflection that she saw in the mirror, and the young man whom she saw seated at the piano, would have come with credit out of a more severely critical inspection. Probably she looked longer and with greater appreciation at the piano player than at her own image. Her good looks were an inherited possession that had been with her more or less all her life, while Ronnie Storr was a comparatively new acquisition, discovered and achieved, so to speak, by her own enterprise, selected by her own good taste. Fate had given her adorable eyelashes and an excellent profile. Ronnie was an indulgence she had bestowed on herself. Cicely had long ago planned out for herself a complete philosophy of life, and had resolutely set to work to carry her philosophy into practice. "When love is over, how little of love even the lover understands," she quoted to herself from one of her favourite poets, and transposed the saying into "While life is with us, how little of life even the materialist understands." Most people that she knew took endless pains and precautions to preserve and prolong their lives and keep their powers of enjoyment unimpaired. Few, very few, seemed to make any intelligent effort at understanding what they really wanted in the way of enjoying their lives, or to ascertain what were the best means for satisfying those wants. Fewer still bent their whole energies to the one paramount aim of getting what they wanted in the fullest possible measure. Her scheme of life was not a wholly selfish one. No one could understand what she wanted as well as she did herself. Therefore she felt that she was the best person to pursue her own ends and cater for her own wants. To have others thinking and acting for one merely meant that one had to be perpetually grateful for a lot of well-meant and usually unsatisfactory services. It was like the case of a rich man giving a community a free library, when probably the community only wanted free fishing or reduced tram fares. Cicely studied her own whims and wishes, experimented in the best method of carrying them into effect, compared the accumulated results of her experiments, and gradually arrived at a very clear idea of what she wanted in life, and how best to achieve it. She was not by disposition a self-centred soul, therefore she did not make the mistake of supposing that one can live successfully and gracefully in a crowded world without taking due notice of other human elements around one. She was instinctively far more thoughtful for others than many a person who is genuinely but unseeingly addicted to unselfishness. Also, she kept in her armoury the weapon which can be so mightily effective if used sparingly by a really sincere individual, the knowledge of when to be a humbug. Ambition entered to a certain extent into her life, and governed it perhaps rather more than she knew. She desired to escape from the doom of being an nonentity, but the escape would have to be effected in her own way and in her own time. To be governed by ambition was only a shade or two better than being governed by convention. The drawing-room in which she and Ronnie were sitting was of such proportions that one hardly knew whether it was intended to be one room or several, and it had the merit of being moderately cool at 2 o'clock on a particularly hot July afternoon. In the coolest of its many alcoves, servants had noiselessly set out an improvised luncheon-table, a tempting array of caviare, crab and mushroom salads, cold asparagus, slender hock bottles, and high-stemmed wine goblets peeped out from amid a setting of Charlotte Clem roses. Cicely rose from her seat and went over to the piano. "Come," she said, touching the young man lightly with a finger-tip on top of his very sleek, copper-hued head. "We're going to have picnic lunch up here today. It's so much cooler than any of the downstairs rooms, and we shan't be bothered."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?